Yes, hello everyone, Falcher Ashkedy, Cúilín Media. Welcome back to Cúilín Media for another weekend review show. It's myself, Seamus Brady, joined by Liam White. Matthew will not be with us for this episode, unfortunately, and we aren't 100% sure about Aaron. But for the start, it is going to be myself and Liam on the show on what has been, Liam, an incredible day for Irish sport. Like, on top of the GA action that we're going to get into, the little bit of a later time of 8:30. Apologies, guys, for anybody expecting the 8 o'clock kickoff time here, but the kickoff is a little bit of a hint as to why we may have been distracted as well as doing our notes for the GA games across the day. We absolutely also were paying attention to the Ireland-Hungary game. Troy Parrott's hat-trick, sending Ireland through to the playoffs. I have never had such a head rush for a last-minute goal like that. Absolutely sensational stuff. In terms of a sport other than GAA, that's probably the happiest I've ever felt, besides Robbie Brady's goal at Euro 2016. I think that was just absolutely unbelievable. So massive shout to the Ireland football team. They've really made the nation happy tonight. Dublin Airport, as Peter is saying, Dublin Airport has changed their name to Troy Parrott International Airport. If you haven't got a chance, look that up on Twitter. They actually have changed their handle to the Troy Parrott International Airport. Well, massive shout to the Ireland team. They did the nation proud. We're through to the playoffs, but we will be breaking down, of course, the GA action, because that's what we are. We're a channel covering the GA. But, Liam, it has to be said, that's a massive step forward for Irish sport tonight.
It's unbelievable. Sure, I was one of those who probably thought when we lost to Armenia, right, that's it for another... Well, actually, maybe not even Armenia, but especially when we lost in the last minute to Portugal, I was thinking, right, that's it now for another World Cup, and we're going to have to go and support the opposition against England for another tournament, which is just getting boring at this stage. But my God, the way they won the other night and the way they've won today, I mean, Troy Parrott, build him a statue, never make him buy a pint again. I don't care. Add him, bring him back to the Premier League. I hope Arsenal sign him. He's not going to sign for Arsenal. He's a former Tottenham player. But Jesus, I would say arguably alongside Brady, Shane Long's goal against Germany is probably right up there with that. How he got a touch on it, I still don't know, to be honest with you. And I love it. I love it. It was just I was keeping up with all the GA action for today, but I think much like most people, if your club say wasn't playing today, your full focus would have been on that game. And I don't care who we get in the playoffs now. I think there's still a chance we could be in pot 2, so we could still get a home advantage game in the semi-final. But unbelievable. Shout out to Matthew Tracy, my good friend, who's over there. Hope you're enjoying it, and I'm very jealous that he's over there right now. But an unbelievable day for Irish football, and we're on our way to the World Cup. We're going to win the World Cup. I don't care what anyone says. It's been a great day. So
it is mental, because obviously we had the wonderful Euro 2016, and we had the Ireland women's team making the World Cup in 2023, which is absolutely sensational. There's 2 big tournaments. They haven't seen them at the Euros, and we haven't seen the men's team at the World Cup, and those are they're the things that we want to see, and hopefully we will get to see it very, very soon. All eyes on what the draw will be. And the playoffs are in March. But as I mentioned there, this is obviously still a GA channel, so we did want to give a massive shout to the Ireland team. Incredible performance with our backs against the wall. Not only this one, but the Portugal game as well, to win that 2-0 the way that we did. Massive shout to Jaime Hallgrimsson, his management team, and all the players for giving this nation something to smile about tonight. And the GA also did not disappoint this weekend, Liam. I mean, we really are spoilt when it comes to sport this weekend across the nation. Absolutely sensational stuff. But we had action across all 4 codes of Gaelic games and all crunch games across all 4 codes. So we're going to start off with hurling. And Peter has let us in nicely. He says, hey lads, commiserations to Matthew and Sars. The Ballygunner blitz was just too much for them today. I thought the reffing was generally poor. He must have been on commission for the card flashing. The goal for Sars before half-time should have stood. Play through the advantage. No common sense reffing there on that call. Look, there was no question about it. From a GA perspective, the game to watch for hurling this weekend was going to be Ballygunner versus Sarsfields. Last year, everybody remembers Shane O'Regan sticking the ball in the net twice off the bench, finishing with 2-3 and player of the match. So all eyes were going to be on whether Ballygunner could get their revenge. Ballygunner got their revenge this weekend. Unbelievable performance by the Waterford champions. You know, a lot of questions are asked about them. Given the way that Sarsfields beat them last year, Shane O'Regan with 2-3 off the bench, and it seemed like, you know, it was all falling apart. The way they've rebounded this year and the way that they put one over on Sars and got their revenge is hugely impressive.
Yeah, no, look, it is. And you got to give credit. From the moment the first whistle was blown, Ballygunner were right on it, to be honest with you. They were absolutely flawless in the first half in particular. You know, they absolutely came out the tracks firing. Like, yeah, Desi Hutchinson striking in 2 goals in the opening 12 minutes. I believe at one stage it was 2-6 to 1 point or something like that. Like, just an outrageous scoreline in the opening couple of minutes. And like, I can imagine, look, they obviously, I feel like a lot of them won't say it out publicly, but I can imagine revenge was very much on their mind from last year, because they even said it. I think Cian Kenny said it after the game to Off the Ball that that they felt like they didn't do themselves justice last year in that final. And regardless if they won today or not, they just wanted to put in a performance to show that they are better than that. And I mean, when you're putting up a performance like that in the first half, you're leading, what was it, 2-11 to 1-6 at halftime. You know, and I will agree, I think the refereeing at times was a bit harsh. I think the goal should have stood before halftime, and you know, it could have maybe made the game a small bit different to a degree. I don't know. But yeah, no, look, for Sarsfields, they just never got going really in the first half. I will admit, the goal that they got on the edge of halftime from Daniel Hogan was absolutely unbelievable. It was kind of Tony Kelly-esque from the All-Ireland final last year. Just the way he was flicking it up and finished it off was really, really neatly done. But look, Sarsfields left themselves nearly too much to do in the second half. And once Patrick Fitzgerald got a goal in the 34th minute, it was essentially game over. And Kevin Mahoney's goal, which was a beautifully taken goal as well, the way he just drifted back inside onto his right-hand side was really, really good to see. And yeah, look, despite Daniel Hogan, who this time around finished with the 2-3 instead of O'Regan, it wasn't to be. It was a very feisty contest, I will say that as well. It was there wasn't much love between the two of them, which we like to see that in the club championship anyways. No love whatsoever between opposite clubs. But yeah, just overall, Ballygunner deserved the win. Look, commiserations to Matthew. We'll have to wait till next year to get that Sarsfields Cormac semi-final. But no, Ballygunner, I think today showed their dominance, and they showed why they're one of the favourites to go on and win the All-Ireland now at this stage. And look, they'll have a tough battle in the Munster final, but they'll be big favourites now heading into it in a couple of weeks' time.
And we're delighted to be joined by Aaron. Aaron, wearing the Ireland jersey.
There it is.
100%.
We were just discussing it, man. Absolutely insane stuff today.
Well, yeah, it was incredible. I don't think there's ever a day that you couldn't not wear this jersey, even if it is a GA podcast and everything else. I think, look, we're all sports fans at the end of the day, and yeah, it was just madness, really. Like, top off, flying around the house, like just jumping for craziness. To be honest, I think I woke up the whole fucking neighborhood while I was at it. I mean, they were probably all celebrating as well, to be fair. But yeah, incredible day. Yeah, incredible day for hurling as well. Like what you were saying about the Ballygunner game. I kind of had obviously watched the first half in depth, had the second half on kind of in the background as the Orling game was on. And obviously, yeah, Ballygunner were just far too strong in the first half. Like, just blew them away, really. It was kind of incredible to see. Like, I remember at one stage the score was like 2-7 to 2 points, and you were like, what on earth is going on here? Like, how is this so one-sided? But yeah, some very interesting games across the weekend. Definitely some surprising results as well. So now looking forward to getting into it with you lads.
I'll throw it back to you, Aaron, because Liam was talking about it there, and Peter also mentioned it in the comments that there was no question about it. They came out with a vengeance. Like, they came out with a bit of spite for what had happened last year, the way that they went down. That opening blitz from Ballygunner was ridiculous. Like, they really, really laid the marker down.
100%, yeah. Like, and even the likes of Desi Hutchinson and whatnot, like, they were phenomenal in the game. You know, getting those 2 first half goals. Porrick Mahoney playing an absolute blinder as well. Like, not just on frees, but like some of his work as well. Like, off the ball was brilliant to see. And even defensively, like, even in the game against Napiershik, like, it was an interesting game against Napiershik a couple of weeks ago, because I didn't think they were, you know, they certainly weren't at it going forward, but they were excellent defensively. Like, they were giving away very, very little. Like, every time like ball went on top of them, you know, the likes of Ian Kenny, the likes of Aaron O'Neill, were able to gobble up ball and sort of shut down attacks. And again, the same thing was happening here. Like Stars were floating sort of long balls, into the likes of James Sweeney and whatnot. And they just couldn't get any joy with it. Ballygunner were sweeping it up every time, turning them over, going down the other end. But I think the difference between this game and the Napirshe game was that Ballygunner, in terms of attack, were well on it. It was probably really only the last 10 minutes against Napirshe where they really stepped up. On this, no, they were phenomenal. From Desi Hutchinson scoring 2-1, like what we said, Pat Fitzgerald with 1-1, Kevin Mahoney with 1-1 as well, Mikey Mahoney with 2 points. I'd say the name Mahoney must give the Stars lads and maybe the whole of Waterford lads nightmares, because there's so many of them going about. But yeah, extraordinary result really for Ballygunner. It's very, very hard to see against them, to be honest with you. Like, for them to have come through, I feel like with Ballygunner, like maybe Ballyhale might be the only side from here that you feel like can actually stop them. But I feel like I don't know, like with Ballygunner, we have saw them getting caught surprisingly in the past. So it's one of them where I feel like they're nearly kind of their own enemies at times. They'd almost beat themselves or something of that nature. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes now.
It'd be fascinating to see, because Ballygunner have, over the past couple of years, they have looked really, really good at stages, and then they've fallen just when you didn't think that they would. Like they fell at the Munster final last year. I didn't think that they would. They fell the year before at the All-Ireland Semi Finals to Thomas's, where before that game I was thinking this is Ballygunner's to win. There's no way Ballygunner don't win the All-Ireland, I was thinking before that semi-final, and yet they fell to a very good St. Thomas's team, obviously, who pushed on to win the All-Ireland themselves. But I still think that one in particular will stand out to Ballygunner as a year that they really should have won. So they can be beat. And Liam, let's be honest, for Éire Óg Guinness, like Loughmore Castellani pushed them all the way, went to extra time. But the reality is that Éire Óg are in a great position when you think about, because this is the key thing that I keep saying. It does not matter in the club championship how you get to the stage that you're at. It frankly does not matter. In fact, I would be saying the more under the radar you can go, the better. And Éire Óg Guinness have completely just snuck under the radar into a Munster final. All the attention will be on Ballygunner and the win that they just had over Sarsfields. And Éire Óg Guinness have the likes of Shane O'Donnell, the likes of David Reedy in the team. They won the Clare Championship. They have looked very good. They won a very, very hard-fought semi-final against Loughmore Castellani, a team that have tons of recent All-Ireland winners in there like the McGraths. So basically my point is Éire Óg are in a great place. And while Ballyhale are jumping out as the obvious one that you're looking at to compare to Ballygunner as who can win the All-Ireland, can Éire Óg Guinness stop them at the next hurdle?
Oh, well, there's always an opportunity, and like kind of what you mentioned there, at times you are sort of better off to a degree coming into the club championship under the radar than you are coming in as big favourites like a Ballygunner would be, or a Ballyhale would be, or even a Schlock Nielsen would be in Ulster. Look, I'll be honest, I was like, look, obviously I was watching the football, but I was keeping an eye on the Éire Óg Loughmore game as well. I will say, first of all, getting it changed at the last minute, not ideal for either set of clubs or either set of supporters. And look, the pitch wasn't in a great state today, but look, that's not, I wouldn't even blame them for that, to be fair. They were given absolutely no notice, and especially at this time of the year when trying to keep the pitch to a great degree is very, very difficult, especially when maybe you don't have a match scheduled for that day. So yeah, that's not ideal. I think there was no running water or something like that in Cúilín Park or something like that, so that's why it got pushed out. But aside from that, look, I will be honest, I didn't think it was a great game of hurling. Like I will be honest. Now, I know you're not expecting classics at this time of the year, but I did kind of think I don't see either of these teams beating Ballygunner in the final. Now, I said that last year about Sarsfields. I didn't think they'd beat Ballygunner in the Munster final, and they went out and they destroyed them, if we're being honest with you. The scoreline was probably nice to Ballygunner last year, if we're being honest. But look, they got the job done, and that's the most important thing. And they had to fight hard to come back into it as well. You Danny Russell, who finished with 114, which is an unbelievable scoreline, getting the point to force extra time. And I believe it was John McGrath who got the point to put them in front. He kind of got a couple of scores that there was one or two times he got a score off his left-hand side, and I thought they were showing a replay until I realized, oh, wait, no, they were just identical scores, a few minutes after each other. But he had a savage game, John McGrath, to be fair to him, finished with 12 points and really showed why he has been hurler of the year this year. But yeah, in extra time, Éire Óg just kicked on, to be honest with you. David Reedy broke through and found Maroney, who got the goal at the end, and it essentially killed the game off for Darren Maroney. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. But yeah, they got the job done in the end. And like you mentioned there, look, we've seen it before. I've seen it with my own club. We go into a first Leinster final after winning a first county title, and we won it. You saw it with Cúilín last year winning the Dublin Championship and then going on to win the All-Ireland. Like, it's absolutely possible. I just think the way Ballygunner, and I'd be a big critic, I've probably been Ballygunner's biggest critic probably on this channel the last couple of weeks, but I have to give them credit. They absolutely came out the blocks firing today, and if they can put in that kind of performance again in the final, then it could be a tough afternoon for Éire Óg. But as he said, they're sort of like their own worst enemy to a degree. They have to go out and do that performance again the next day and make sure that they don't slip up once again. But look, when you've got players like Maroney in there, when you've got Russell in there, when you've got Shane O'Donnell in there, then I suppose, and David Reedy, you've always got a chance. But yeah, it's still going to be very difficult for them. But listen, it's fantastic for them to get to a first final in over 30 years.
It certainly is. And it is interesting to look at like how, provincial campaigns differ based off of, have they been here before? Have they not been here before? Like you see Cúilín, for example, in the men's football last year coming out and, they managed to win the Leinster Championship versus maybe Kilmacud Crokes the year before, who had been there, done that, everything like that. The games were played a lot more differently. It seemed like Cúilín were slightly more beatable, but they still managed to get the job done. I do think the more experience you have in the provincial championships, the better. And I think you would have to put Ballygunner down as favourites, given what they've achieved, especially in Munster. But Éire Óg definitely have a puncher's chance. There's no question about it. With Shane O'Donnell in your team, you've always got a shot. We'll look at here. So Peter says, yeah, first quarter nailed it for Ballygunner. SARS just couldn't quell the onslaught. And Dublin's Fair City says, I thought it looked like a bad intermediate game, the Éire Óg versus Loughmore game. I said Ballygunner had Sarsfield's bet after 15 minutes, a mini revival of sorts by Sars, but the damage was done early doors. Peter says, lads, is it a neutral venue for the Munster final? Probably Thurles or the Park. I actually don't know exactly where the Munster final is being played, to be honest.
Probably Thurles, I imagine.
Probably Thurles. I mean, that's where it was played last year. But, I mean, obviously it depends on conditions and everything like that when you're considering the Cusack Park went bust on the day today. Dublin Fair City, Ballygunner will stretch their lead on the Munster Roll of Honour to 6 titles. They'll easily account for Éire Óg. Dublin's Fair City definitely not afraid to state what they really think. Love to see it. We will move then from the Munster Hurling Semi Finals. But lads, I'm assuming that we're going for Ballygunner, but Éire Óg have a puncher's chance. This kind of general sense that I'm getting from these games. Which brings us on nicely to the next topic of our discussion. I'll just get it up here, which is indeed the Ulster Senior Hurling Championship Semi Finals. So in these games, there was a lot of attention turned, obviously, to Slaughtneil versus Portaferry. So last year on TG Cahir, the game between Slaughtneil and Portaferry was an absolute cracker. And Slaughtneil have been tipped as favourites by a lot of people to win the Ulster Championship. And Portaferry were picked as a team that could definitely stop them in their tracks. Well, Slaughtneil have overcome that hurdle by 5 points at the Athletic Grounds. A little bit more of a gap than last year. Liam, it's a job well done by Slaughtneil.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you can't have any complaints with that. Portaferry last year probably unlucky not to get over the line, to be honest, which probably shooting themselves in the foot to a degree last year. But I think this year, look, obviously I didn't see the game, so I can't really judge in that perspective. But judging by the scoreline, it's a great win for Slaughtneil to be back in an Ulster final once again. The substitute Gerald Bradley got the late goal, which was the key conductor in the day. They led by a point at half time, and then they managed to kick on in the second half. But yeah, look, for Slaughtneil, they have ambitions of winning the All-Ireland. They were very unlucky not to get over the line against Sarsfields last year. We all remember the chance they had in the last minute, which went over the bar instead of into the net, which would have sent them to the final. But yeah, look, it's a great victory for them. You'd probably make them favourites to win the Ulster final now. to be honest with you. And it's no disrespect to their opponents, but I just think Schlockneil, the way they won the Ulster Championship last year, the players that they have in their team as well. I mean, you have Shea Cassidy, who finished with 11 points today, is a really good, strong hurler. You've Cormac O'Doherty as well. Guigan, Brendan Rodgers, who I think is a very, very underrated hurler, to be honest with you. You've all these players who are all Shane McGuigan as well, who like we praise him for his football, but Jesus, like he's an unbelievable hurler at the same time as well. Do you know what I mean? So look, Schlockneil will be absolutely fancying their chances to go and win the Ulster title now. And considering, look, nothing against Loughrea, but considering they're on the other side of the draw, like they're not going to be meeting potentially a Ballygunner or a Ballyhale until the final. Don't be surprised if they were to turn over Loughrea, to be honest with you. They could easily have beaten Sarsfields last year. And now as well, it will be a thing that might hurt Loughrea, is that Schlockneil now have had this game and they'll have an Ulster final. And if they were to get over that, they'd have had 2 really good competitive games of hurling, whereas Loughrea be waiting since, how long ago was that Galway final? Was it last week or was 2 weeks ago or something like that, So, yeah, look, I think it's going to be an interesting Ulster final. I think Schlockneil probably will be too strong potentially in it. But, yeah, look, it's a great win for them at the end of the day. And, yeah, like you mentioned, a bit of a bigger gap than last year, which always helps.
Yeah, certainly. So, it's interesting looking at it, because Schlockneil are obviously going to be favourites in terms of the final. But when you look, Aaron, at what St. John's did on the other side of the draw, to a very, very solid Setanta team, won the Donegal Championship. They're there on merit. St. John's 320, Setanta 12 points. It's rare in the provincial stages of the club championship that you see a scoreline that one-sided.
Absolutely, yeah, and it was a weird game from kind of keeping up with it and everything else, because like Setanta actually started the better side. They were actually 2 points up early on in the early stages, and at half time there was 5 points between them. It was 110 to 1-8 in favor of St. John's. It was just in the second half really that they pulled away. And yeah, they didn't look back at all, and especially after what they achieved in Antrim, the celebrations and coming through those tough games, it would have been very easy for a bit of complacency maybe to kick in and everything else, but that wasn't the case at all. They were absolutely brilliant. The likes of Donald Carson was very good. Oran McManus as well, who I've been singing his praises. He was very impressive in their win in the Antrim final a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, they've got some phenomenal players like Shay Shannon in there as well, who's another phenomenal hurler. So look, it's going to be interesting to see. Schlockneil, you would back them as favourites probably because of the fact that they've been here more often than St. John's. They have more experienced players and everything else, but again, you can't really sleep on St. John's, because look, they beat Lochiel Shamrocks, they beat Rory Oak, they've beaten Setanta very comfortably as well. So they'll be fancying their chances as well. And I definitely do think there's a real chance for St. John's going into the final.
And the other thing that you have to take into consideration as well, lads, is you look at it that you've got Loughrea, Schlockneil and St. John's. Now we know for a fact it's going to be one of them in the All-Ireland final. It's remarkable how quick all of a sudden it's whittled away. That all of a sudden you've got St. John's going up against Schlockneil in the Ulster final. Loughrea are already waiting in the semi-final. I think you have to take that into consideration when doing up the power rankings, that you have to look at what do Ballyhale still have to come through in Leinster. They still have to come through the likes of St. Martin's and good solid teams like that, whereas Loughrea are already in the All-Ireland semi-final. There's no prospect of them getting caught in the provincial system. And St. John's and Schlockneil are one game away from the semi-finals already. So very, very interesting to look at it from that perspective as well. But you have to give a massive shout to St. John's and Schlockneil. I would say that if Portaferry were to play Setanta, I'd back Portaferry to win. So I think you have to take that into account when assessing, and comparing the wins for Schlockneil and St. John's. Right now, I'm happy to keep Schlockneil in my Power 5, especially with Sarsfields being gone. So that pumps Schlockneil up a place. Yeah, either way, Ulster Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals are in the books. The final will be St. John's against Schlockneil. I think we're all going for Schlockneil, but again, is it similar? The St. John's definitely have a chance here in this game, and they're flying under the radar as well. Peter says Loughrea need to get challenges, maybe the uni teams. Yeah, I mean, college games definitely against Loughrea would do them good, especially coming into this stage of the season. but we're going to switch over from hurling to the second code, Gaelic football. So we're going to start off over in the west, over in Connacht. And Aaron, I'm going to go to you for this first year pick to win the Connacht Championship. St. Bridget's took a step closer to regaining the Connacht Championship. They beat Ballina Stephenites in Dr. Hyde Park, 121 to 3 goals and 8 points. This one was highlighted as being a game that people expected potentially to be close. Not really, judging by that scoreline. Very impressive for St. Bridget's.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think for Ballina, what kept them in it really was the goals. They got an early goal from Dylan Thornton. They got one inside 20 minutes as well from Evan Regan. And that was really kind of keeping them alive, really. But no, Bridges were phenomenal. And even looking at it here, from the 18th minute up until the 33rd minute when Ballina got their third goal, what St. Bridget scored, 6-7 points on the bounce, 8 points without reply, including a 2-pointer in there from Rory Fallon. So, yeah, incredibly impressive for St. Bridget's after coming through a very tough route through Roscommon, having to go through the replay with Pierce's and everything else. This was a bit of a banana skin because Mayo teams have been written off. They've been criticised quite heavily in the Connacht Club Championship in recent seasons. So, because of that, you're expecting a bounce back from Ballina, given some of the disappointments from last season, but they just couldn't get their big players into the game. There's no doubt about it. They were struggling in terms of attack. Even when you're looking at their forwards, only 2 of their starting forwards scored, Evan Regan and Dylan Thornton, who we mentioned. Couldn't really get a lot of their other forwards into the game. Frank Irwin was fairly quiet as well, just 1 point from him. And Bridget's all across the board. I know we highlight Ben O'Carroll and as one of the kind of star players there, and Bobby Nugent, who's looked very good. But you've got Brian Derwin there with 2 points. You've got Paul McGrath with 2 points. You've got Kieran Sugru with 2 points. Connor Hand getting on the score sheet as well. Rory Fallon, who I mentioned previously, he finishes with 4. So very, very impressive from a Bridget's perspective. And yeah, I think if I was a Bridget's fan, I'd be getting quite excited that this could be, it could be something special on the cards here for Bridget's this year, because, we'll get on to Mike Cullen in a moment. A very emphatic win for them as well. There'll certainly be no slouches in the final, but Bridget's are looking good. They're looking strong, and especially with some of the big hitters gone in the All-Ireland scene, Bridget's might be eyeing up the big prize that got away from them a couple of years ago.
Well, they were in the final a couple of years ago, as you said there, against Waddy Graham's Glen. There's no doubt that final will be living in their heads, especially from the Conor Glass goal. That's where the game turned. But they were right in that game up until that stage. Aaron mentioned it there, Liam. They do have to go through one more huge hurdle to win the Connacht Championship, and that is Mike Cullen, who beat Leitrim Gales in their semi-final 4-13 to a goal and 9. That's going to be a massive Connacht final. Whoever comes out of that has to be taken serious for the All-Ireland.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I think we have a cracking Ulster. Jesus, I think we have a cracking Connacht final to look forward to. 2 very, very good teams. It's kind of hilarious. We could easily have had my prediction for Connacht against your prediction in Cúilín Strandhill and Porrick Pierce's, but instead we've got Aaron's one. Yeah,
I didn't put you there. What the fuck you on about?
Matthew put it, didn't he?
Oh, Matthew. Did someone
fake news?
Yeah, wait. I can't even remember, man. I picked Salt Hill, not Nacara.
Salt Hill, not Nacara. Jesus.
Salt Hill, not Nacara. That's who I picked.
Jesus, I'm stupid. Salt. Yeah,
you were cool there. I was like,
I forgot. There's this is what happens when your brain is just mushed from earlier. But yeah, no, look, I think it's going to be a cracking final either way. I think I wouldn't be writing off Mike Cullen, to be honest with you. I mean, I know the game was in Galway today instead of in Leitrim, but it's still a very impressive performance from them to be winning a provincial semi-final by this type of a scoreline, putting up this type of a scoreline against another county's best team is really, really impressive. But yeah, look, I think the battle between them and St. Bridget's, you definitely be ranking one of them as one of the All-Ireland favourites if they do come out of it in a couple of weeks' time. There's no question about that. Any team that comes out of Connacht is always going to be difficult, but when you have 2 teams here of the pedigree and the talent that both these clubs possess, and especially with the way that Mike Cullen won the Galway final and the way Bridget's came through 2 very grueling battles with Porrick Pierce's as well, yeah, it's going to make for a very interesting contest. I will say, I think Ballina were probably fortunate that scoreline was 3-8 to 121 because they were very much off the boil in their contest, to be honest with you. But in terms of this game, yeah, look, they started off really well. They were leading 1-2 to no score early on. Like it was an unbelievable start from Garvin Jones getting the goal after 2 minutes, but then Mike Cullen just took over. Then a couple of moments later, about 15 minutes later, Desi Keneally and Faker McDonough getting 2 goals from them. I mean, leading 2-9 to 1-2 at halftime. The game was essentially done from that perspective. And then you had Fionn McDonough getting 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes, and it essentially absolutely killed the game and wasn't much really riding on it after that. But yeah, look, it's a statement win from Mike Cullen. They got over the line, it'll be a really tough battle between them and Bridget's in the decider. It's very hard to call, to be quite honest with you, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be 2 very good footballing teams having a go at each other, not holding back, or at least I hope that's what we get anyways. But yeah, I think I feel like I might edge it to St. Bridget's potentially at this moment in time. But I wouldn't be writing off Mike Cullen by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to be a historic final for the 2 of them. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Do you think with the predictions that we should do that it tags on to the team that beat your prediction, or do you think that we should completely change it? Because if we're doing that it tags on, well then I have to pick Mike Cullen because they obviously beat Salthill Knocknacarra in the Galway final. And maybe it might make me feel a bit better if the team that beat the team I picked to win Connacht actually goes and wins Connacht. So you know what? Yeah, I'll go Mike Cullen. To win. Peter Cook's return is going to be a big difference, Sean Kelly and everything like that. But in all seriousness, it's heads or tails in this game. They're so evenly matched. I think it's a 50-50 contest, no question about it. And yeah, buzzing for that one because that one is definitely going to be one to watch. Aaron, swinging things over then to Leinster. So the 2 clubs that are champions of our respective counties are on the same side of the draw, and both of them were victorious in their respective Leinster football quarterfinals. Aaron, starting off with you, Ballyboden St. Enda's 2-16, Castletown Lean Mellows 13 points in Wexford Park. Look, the reality is for Bowden, it's a tricky away day. You're down in Wexford, conditions aren't great. These games can get ugly pretty quick. I mean, we've seen plenty of examples in the past. The most notorious example, obviously, from a Dublin perspective, is Kilmacud Crokes losing to Mullinachta, the Longford champions, when the conditions that day were terrible. Crokes never got going. All of a sudden, their backs are against the wall, and Mullinachta pull off an incredible victory. So for Ballyboden, their job was to snuff this out before it ever got going. And, I mean, they pretty much did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like keeping an eye on the score and the updates and everything else coming in. Like you were looking at the opening sort of 10-15 minutes, and I think it was a little bit shaky maybe from Ballyboden. Castletown scored a couple of 2-pointers from Dara Brooks, 5 points to 2 up until Colin Basquel's goal. I think Castletown had a couple of wides as well, a couple of big missed chances in that opening 20-minute period. So yeah, look, for Ballyboden going away to Wexford and everything else, look, it was always going to be a little bit tricky. Massive favourites. First time for a lot of these players as well playing in the Leinster Club Football Championship. You know, a lot of players from the previous team have retired and moved on. But no, look, once Colin Basquel got that goal, to be fair, they took over after that, and they were incredibly dominant and never really looked back after that. Like Colin Basquel himself scored 1-4. Seen a clip of a 2-pointer he scored as well. Like absolutely incredible. Looks back to his absolute best that we've seen him throughout 2023, in particular when he was instrumental in Dublin winning the All-Ireland that year. Ryan Basquel scored 2 points as well. Dara Sweeney with 3, Ross McGarry with 5. And yeah, huge result. It must be said from a Ballyboden St. Enda's perspective. Actually, just looking at it here as well on Scorpio, Dara Brooks is actually the goalkeeper who scored 8 points. So that shows how well he was playing. So yeah, great result for Ballyboden. Look, they have to get over the line. I think the last thing they would have wanted is if to be like a nervy game and everything else, because they wouldn't have wanted that obviously in preparation of the semi-finals in Leinster. So yeah, huge win, and they did what they had to do.
The key thing with these games is to get through them without paying too heavy a price on getting through them. If you can get through them and keep Colin Basquel fit, keep Cian Darcy fit, keep Dara Sweeney fit, they'll be happy with that, especially with minimal minimal fuss, and you don't, make yourself sweat and everything like that. But also, I think it's slightly good, and it sounds stupid saying it, but it relates back to my point when I was talking about Éire Óg coming into the Munster final. If Ballyboden had put like 620 on them, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, Ballyboden, Ballyboden, Ballyboden. All of a sudden the pressure's ramped right up on them. I think them just winning, minimal fuss, getting through to the next round is exactly where they want to be. Because right now, who are people talking about for the All-Ireland? People are talking about Kilcoo. They're talking about Bridget's. They're talking about Moycullen. There's not really a lot of people talking about Ballyboden for how good they are. You're talking about like who's probably the best midfielder left in the club championship. Is there anybody better in midfield left than Cian Darcy? Like maybe you can make an argument maybe for Peter Cook, but not really. And then is there anybody better in the forwards left? Like is there any forward line better than what Ballyboden have got with the Pascal brothers, with Dara Sweeney? You can make an argument for some of the teams like Bridges who have Ben O'Carroll, Bobby Nugent. You can make an argument for Dingle, obviously, with Paul Gainey and the like. But Ballyboden have to be right up there. And yet, they are not being talked about in the same level as Kilcoo and everything like that. So it will be very interesting to see just how far this Ballyboden team can go. The next round, they're up against Liam, a team you know very well. They're up against Tullamore. 3-13 Tullamore, 4-8 to the Downs. And this one was in Cusack Park in Mullingar. So again, an away day for Tullamore in terms of, obviously the Downs are going to be much more familiar with Cusack Park. And the Tullamore side went away and got a good win.
Yeah, and that scoreline really doesn't reflect the game, to be honest with you, because I think the Downs doubled their scoring tally in the final 5-10 minutes. They had 2-4 scored by like the 55th minute, and they scored 2-4 in the final 10 minutes, to end up with 4-8. Like it was a complete dominance from Tullamore, to be honest with you. They were leading 1-8 to 1-2 at half time. Some of the scores that they were getting were brilliant. Now they had the wind in the first half, but the likes of Harry Plunkett, who was the match winner for them the last day, was on fire. He finished with 1-5. They got goals from Niall Furlong, who was man of the match in the county final, had another stellar game today, and Killian Burke as well. John Furlong had an absolute monster game at centre back. Cormac Egan was just doing his thing again, was bursting through tackles and creating space for himself, and had about 3 or 4 lads chasing him at every given opportunity. And the Downs just didn't look themselves, to be honest with you, for a large majority. And like I said that I would be ranking them 5th to maybe go up and win the All-Ireland. And I still think they're a good team. I don't think today's performance reflects on them as a team, but Jesus, like they just had no answer for Tullamore. And then final 10 minutes or so, Luke Loughlin just turns it on, as well as a few other players. And all of a sudden, going into the final minute, Tullamore went from 3-12 to 2-4. So that's 11 points up with 5 minutes to go, to 2 points up in stoppage time. And like the Downs were pushing. They were absolutely pushing right down to the bitter end. But look, Tullamore did what they had to do in the end. And it's great for them to get back-to-back wins in Leinster in the quarterfinals, because they'd gone, I think the last time they'd won a Leinster championship match before last year was in the 70s, which is just mental for me to be comprehending, considering they've won the Offaly championship, I think 30 or 31 times at this stage, But it's good momentum for them. And look, they have Ballyboden at home. And like you mentioned there, Ballyboden, they're not really being talked about much at the moment, which is always dangerous for a team from Dublin, especially I think Cúilín were in the sort of same boat last year, not being talked about as much maybe. And then they went on and won the All-Ireland in very good fashion. So Tullamore know that they'll have a battle on their hands against Ballyboden the next day, but Ballyboden will know that they'll have a battle on their hands as well, with the likes of Harry Plunkett playing the way he is at the moment, with John Furlong, Cormac Egan at the back, Declan Hogan at full back. The Foxes as well. Some really, really good talented players in there. Killian Burke as well, who there's rumours of him potentially going to Australia. Hopefully for Offaly's sake, he stays, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, no, it'll make for a very interesting semi-final. I'm looking forward to it. It's in Tullamore, in O'Connor Park. The pitch, we'll wait and see what state it's in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, look, Tullamore did what they had to do, and they'll be very pleased with the large majority of their performance.
Yeah, they were very good. There's no question that the Downs did make them sweat there at the end. But interestingly, again, it's another performance similar to Ballina, where the goals definitely did the heavy lifting in terms of their scoreline, even though Tullamore racked up 3 of their own. They're on the same side of the draw. We'll get into predictions for that later. Ballyboden will play Tullamore on one side in the semi-final. A tie will play against Port Darlington in the other semi-final. We'll go into the Athy game first. It was going to be picked as one of the tightest quarterfinals in the Leinster Championship, Athy against Summerhill. And it wasn't at all, especially in the second half. Athy absolutely made mincemeat out of Summerhill. And they've beaten Naas. They ended Naas's push for 4 in a row in the Kildare Championship. They ended their run of dominance there. And now they've really made mincemeat out of Bolton Glass and Summerhill back-to-back in the Leinster Championship. They're cruising along nicely. Could they win the Leinster Championship? Aaron, I'll go to you.
I think they definitely have an opportunity or a chance, yeah. I remember saying, after the Bolton Glass game that, all right, they are the real deal. There's no question about it. They've got some phenomenal players, and Kevin Feely and Noah Kelly and a few others. Colm Moran as well, very impressive player. The other night, Brian Marr, getting a big important goal as well. So yeah, they're very well rounded, very well balanced. They've got strong defenders. They're very aggressive in the tackle as well in terms of turnovers. And yeah, look, they beat Naas for a reason. Naas are a good team. And had Naas have come through. If Naas were doing what Athy were doing right now, I think a lot of people would nearly be backing Naas to win Leinster, to be honest with you. Yeah. But look, obviously with it being Athy and not knowing too much about them, first time for them in a Leinster Championship for these players anyway, at senior level. So definitely something new. We're not exactly sure how they manage it and everything else, but look, they've been phenomenal. They've been absolutely brilliant and very, very impressive in regards to that. Look, there's no question. Summerhill, we're missing Owen Frayne, so that was huge. To be missing a key player, a player of his ability, who was so crucial for 2-pointers and frees and everything else. So to be missing him, I think was a huge blow. But yeah, massive result for Athy, and it should be an interesting semi-final. Same against Port Darlington, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And Liam, I'll come to you next for that. So Port Darlington, the Laois champions, also march on to the semi-final. They beat Naomh Martin by 14 points to a goal and 8. This at the Gaelic grounds in Drogheda. So the Louth champions are no more.
Yeah, and it's great for me because it means more content for the radio. That Port Darlington won and Tullamore won. Well, even if the Downs had won, I'd have had content as well. But yeah, look, it was a good win from Port Darlington, to be fair. They look, if we're being honest, their game against Old Loughlin really was a poor game of football, if we're being frank and honest about it. But at the same time, Port Darlington just did not care one bit. They got through the game, they won it. And like you mentioned there, with very minimal fuss as well, which was probably a good thing from their perspective. And it was a good warm-up for them for this game as well. And listen, going away to the Louth champions is never an easy thing. Sure, St. Mary's already got to the final in Leinster last year, so there was going to be nothing simple about this game. But yet, Port Darlington were making it look simple at halftime. They were leading by 5, 9-4 at the break. They were pulled back in the second half. Tom Gray got a goal, and Darren McDonald got a 2-pointer. But yeah, from the perspective of Port Darlington, they really kept up the pace in the second half. And look, I know they only scored 5 points in the second half, which they'll want to improve on that the next day. But to only be conceding, like I kind of mentioned their defense a couple of weeks ago, like their first game against Courtwood in the Laois final, they conceded 2-12. The next day they conceded 7 points. The last day they conceded 6, and again today conceding 1-8. Like their defense is really, really good at the moment. They're really good at suffocating teams and putting pressure on the opposition and everything like that. So look, Athy will probably go into that game maybe as the favourites. I believe it'll be in Athy as well. So, in Kildare. So it's not going to be simple for them, but 2 tough away grounds to go to, and they've passed both tests. And they've spoken massively this year about representing Laois properly this year in the championship, and so far they've done that. And yeah, look, when you have players in your team as well, like Ronan Coffey, who I rate very, very highly as well, I think you've always got a great opportunity, to be honest with you. So look, I think it's going to be a very intriguing semi-final. Hard to call for me at the moment, because I do think Port Darlington are a very good team, but yeah, it certainly wouldn't surprise me either one of these teams getting to the final. But it's also great to see 2 new teams in the final as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's time, lads, to make predictions on how we think the rest of the Leinster Championship is going to play out. And I'll start. So I think that Ballygunner are going to beat Tullamore. Sorry, Liam. I think that...
I'm not from Tullamore, so go ahead.
I don't know, just in case there's any county loyalty. I mean, to be fair, I don't really care if you say Tullamore are going to beat Bowden. But I think Ballygunner are going to beat Tullamore. I think Athy are going to beat Port Darlington. And then I think Ballygunner are going to beat Athy in the Leinster final. Is there any disagreements with how I've put it?
I'd go with Ballyboden for the moment. I do just think they might have just maybe a bit too much for Tullamore, but I do think it'll be a game that'll go right down to the wire. But I think Ballyboden might shade it maybe at the moment, if I was to say, by maybe 2 points or something like that. I'm going to predict Portarlington to reach the Leinster final. I'd probably go with Ballyboden to win that as well, but I'm going to go with Portarlington to pull off the so-called shock and get themselves over the line against a tie.
If Tullamore were to play Portarlington, would that spark the Laois Offaly rivalry?
I suppose it probably would, yeah. I think, look, it'd be great. It'd be great for Leinster football if the club final was between, say, Offaly and Laois clubs, or obviously if you had, it'd be the same. It'd be no different in the hurling if it was, say, Clough-Ballacolla against Naas, and you had Laois against Kildare or something like that. It'd be great for the province, but. Look, there's every opportunity we could see that, it's the club championship at the end of the day, and Tullamore have definitely improved over the last couple of years, and they certainly won't be fearing Ballyboden. There's no question about that. They went to Cúilín last year and only lost by 3 points, so they won't be fearing them at all, and especially after today, I know it was a nervy ending for them, but for the large majority of their game against the Downs, they were superb, so it would probably ignite it a small bit, but yeah, no, I'd probably stick with Ballyboden for the moment, and I'm going to go with Portarlington to take down a tie. But I think Ballyboden will probably maybe just shade it in the Leinster final, especially with the final being at Croke Park as well.
Yeah. Now, the thing is with Bowden as well is that Bowden have, over the last 2 years, me and Aaron have documented this quite a lot on the pod. And if you're a regular listener, you've definitely heard us say it before. But over the last few years, Bowden have had a dull performance in them at some point. Now, that hasn't come this year. They got a new manager in. He's had a great start. But maybe, just maybe, that string of maybe having a flat performance might come back to bite them at a key stage. And I think a provincial semi-final against Tullamore could be tricky, and I feel like that could be where they fall. I genuinely think a provincial ground, tough conditions, tight game, I think that could be where they get caught. I think a Leinster final in a big open Croke Park, nice surface to play on, the forwards that they've got, I don't think anybody who's left could stop them. But it will be very interesting to see how it plays out. Peter and I think a few other people in the comments were talking about the possibility of putting the club semi-finals in Leinster as a double header somewhere. To me, that makes perfect sense. I don't know why that wouldn't be something that would be considered. I hope that they do consider it, and I hope it happens, because in my opinion, it would be a nice day it would be something to make a day of it. And you can't tell me that there wouldn't be fans in that first game that would want to stick around for the second game, or vice versa, that would come for the second game that might want to catch a glimpse of potential future opponents in the first semi-final. And to be honest, with the double headers, the thing that I've never understood is, I get that there's money involved in putting on games and everything like that, but if you were to put a double header in the one stadium, it halves the amount of staff that you need. You don't need people then to run the other stadium and everything like that. You just need to focus on one pitch, one stadium, everything like that. So it is an interesting one to look at, in my opinion, is getting as many double headers, triple headers over the line as possible. The final provincial football action on the men's side that we're going to discuss is the Munster Senior Football Championship quarter-final. So we obviously had one last week, which saw a victory for Éire Óg Innis over Rathcormac. But this weekend saw a victory for St. Finbarrs against Clonmel Commercials by a goal in 17 to 2 goals in 11 in a dramatic finish. They really upped the tempo going down the home stretch. Jimmy Barry Murphy, a selector, of course, with St. Finbarrs, spoke about the character that they showed going down the last few minutes. The reality is, Aaron, you cannot underestimate how impressive a win this is, because it was in Clonmel. St. Finbarrs went into Clonmel's backyard and beat them in a really, really tight, tough game. Very impressive win.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, to score the final 4 points of the game, to turn it around. As you said, like, Clonmel have been a very sticky team for Cork sides to play against, like Nemo Rangers. I remember they got bet fairly comfortably from them, a couple of years ago. So yeah, huge from the Bars, in fairness. Like Stephen Sherlock scoring 9 points, a couple of brilliant 2-pointers in there. And like, I think they were trailing, I think it was 210 to 111 with 14 minutes to go. So the fact that they were able to dig deep and kind of find the way and grab themselves over the line, yeah, it's huge for the Bars, because look, there's no doubt about it. obviously with the Bars a couple of years ago, they were very close themselves for an All Ireland. So I think there is the potential there within their ranks with some of the players that they do have. Like we were mentioning, strong midfields. I think Ian McGore, in there with the Bars, like that's a strong midfield. In fairness. So yeah, I think Finn Bars are going under the radar a little bit. Look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Dingle are going to be a very tough team to stop. There's no question about that. But and whoever else may be there. But really impressive stuff from the Bars to fight back and turn it around. And tremendous amount of resilience. And be disappointment for Clonmel. See Mickey Quinlivan played very well, as well as a few others. So disappointment for them. But yeah, look, big win for the Finn Bars.
Absolutely, they were fantastic. There's no question about it. That was a very, very difficult game. Peter talking about Newbridge, 15,000 for a full house. It's a grand job they have done. 3,000 seater stand. It's nice and compact. Newbridge is a favourable venue for neutral games in the All Ireland series. Dublin Spare City says be a handy trip for me to Newbridge. Haven't been at the new ground yet. Looks good on TV. Nice and compact, as you say. Short walk from the train station. It is a lovely stadium. I've been there for the All Ireland minor final between Kerry and Tyrone. I was working at that day with TG Carr, and genuinely it's a lovely, lovely stadium. It's a perfect venue, to be honest, for an inter-county game that isn't going to get 60,000 or 70,000. If you're looking at 15,000 max, Newbridge is the ideal venue to host it. And I'd be looking at these Leinster Semi Finals thinking, put them in Newbridge. I know that a tie would have maybe a bit of a leg up then, but I mean, it's a perfect venue for everybody to get to. It's a perfect venue for everything, and I definitely would be tipping that as my venue for it. And plus, like, do you want to get games in there? You put a lot of money into that stadium, recently renovated. Use it like to the maximum level that you can. Use it. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Provincial LGFA Final, which took place over the weekend. We already had the Munster one, which Comer Rangers won. We had the Leinster one, which Kilmacud Crokes won, and the Connacht one, which Kilkerran Clonberne won. And we had the Ulster one this weekend. Errigal Kieran were going up against St. Ergnat. St. Ergnat had taken out Clonairen, who had won the previous two Ulster championships, so they showed it was no fluke at all. St. Ergnat's 3-10. Errigal Kieran 5 points at Brewster Park. St. Ergnat's breeze to the Ulster Championship after knocking out Clonairen, who had won the previous two championships. They showed it was no fluke that they did that. Worthy Ulster champions to beat an Errigal side that has the likes of Aoife Horst, Maria Canavan. It's an incredible victory for St. Ergnat. An incredible victory as well for Antrim football. Liam, I'll come to you for this one.
Yeah, it's a savage win for Antrim football. Like you said, to win a first ever Ulster ladies football title is some going, to be honest with you, and in such dominant fashion as well. It's unbelievable. You had 3 first half goals, which, like, it's unbelievable. You're going for your first title, and obviously sometimes you'd be thinking there might be a bit of nerves there, or there might be a bit of worry, because it's your first provincial. You're going for your first title and everything like that, so the nerves can get to you. And it was anything but. You'd swear they'd been here 10 million times before. 3 first half goals from Leah Stewart, Cathy Carey, and I think it was Maria O'Neill got the other one as well. And leading by 6 points at half time, which is a very good lead to have, especially at this time of the year. And they outscored Errigal Kieran 9-2 in the second half, which is very, very impressive going. You feel for Errigal as well. They missed 2 penalties in this game, which is not ideal, especially in the final moment. But I suppose at that stage, it wouldn't have mattered too much. It would have just been a consolation. But yeah, for Moneyglass to become the first Antrim club to win a provincial title is just unbelievable. And for them to go on to the All-Ireland semis now it's a fantastic story. To take down the 2 teams that they have in Errigal Kieran and Clonairen is just absolutely fantastic for them. And it will only increase the love and the support for Antrim football as well. Well, I hope it does anyways, because we need as many teams as possible competing at the highest level. But yeah, to take down a Tyrone team like this in Brewster Park by, it was a 3-10 to 5 points, but 14 points in a county final. It's just unbelievable going. So congratulations to them. And yeah, they're 60 minutes away now from an All-Ireland final, which would be just even bigger for the county as well.
It's absolutely sensational stuff. Peter here saying Ergnat's a brewing storm, some win, history makers. Absolutely, Peter. There's no question about it. It's an incredible victory they're going in though, Aaron, against now they're in with the Sharks. Like Clon Aaron, no question about it. Incredible Ulster champions. They did it back to back. But they're going in against now Como Rangers, who had dethroned Ballymacarby and then won Munster, and they're going in then against Kilmacud Crokes, and probably the greatest team you could argue in the history of the LGFA at club level in Kilcar and Clonberne. So like from now on, the mountain gets a hell of a lot steeper if you're talking about going to the very top.
Absolutely, yeah, but it is bonus territory really for what they've achieved. Do you know what I mean? Especially for winning for a first time. There's no doubt, of course, there's going to be a huge amount of celebrations and everything else. So, but look, they won't fear. They won't fear Como Rangers. They won't fear Kilcar and Clonberne. Going into the All Ireland series, like they've comfortably beat Ergo Kieran. Like they've wiped the floor with them really, like and completely brushed them aside. Like to have done that so convincingly shows how good that they actually are. And this is the magic of club championships. So, sometimes you just don't. It's obviously impossible to watch every game and know absolutely everything about every championship. So, sometimes you get these clubs who kind of come along and, surprise you and have some brilliant players and can sort of galvanise a county a little bit as well. Do you know that way? So, incredible stuff really from them. And, it will be tough against Como Rangers. Como Rangers themselves were probably in a similar scenario last year where they were the ones who, broke their duck in Waterford and everything else and ended that sort of long wait that Ballymacarby had, and they've kind of taken it to the next level now this year and winning Waterford and going on and winning Munster. So, but Cobra themselves are, it's not like they've been in tons of All Ireland Semi Finals in recent years. So, it is kind of a bit of an unknown quantity for both clubs. So, I'm looking forward to it now.
Yeah, no, it's going to be something else, but there's no question it's the world against Kilcar and Clonberne in that Final Four. They've been so unstoppable. And interesting enough, lads, Antrim clubs did the double when it comes to Ulster Championships on the female side. Lochiel Shamrocks, Aaron, beating Clonduff by 2-15 to a goal and 11 at the Athletic Grounds. Obviously, they're spearheaded by Roisin McCormick, who is obviously recently named in the Team of the Year at intermediate level in Camogie, despite Antrim not actually even reaching the final. But she's a terrific player. Again, you're looking at this one, but a little bit differently, because the big dogs over the last 2 years, Sarsfields, are gone. Now, Dixborough, which we will come to later, they're still in the championship. And Finbars are obviously still in the championship as well in Munster. But Sarsfields from Galway, the grip that they've had over the championship has been loosened. Athenry have taken that off them. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how far Lochiel can go now too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great for Antrim in general. It's great for the county and everything else. And for ladies football, for Camogie, for the promotion in the games and everything else. And who knows? You could have an Antrim winner from hurling as well, potentially with St. John's, and what a story that would be for Antrim, GAA as a whole. But yeah, no, it absolutely does open it up, to be fair. You still have some top teams in there, like Dixborough narrowly came through Lart today with a late point. And they were certainly pushed to the pin of their collar. So, maybe they're not as unbeatable maybe as everyone thinks. Maybe they can be gotten at. So that will definitely give them confidence. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, I didn't see the game against Clonduff, but from looking at the score and reading reports and everything else, did feel very comfortable. So yeah, massive win for them. And yeah, look, 100% does open it up. And I think it would be great to see if we could get an Antrim winner in Camogie or ladies football or something like that. I think it would be great for the county.
Certainly will, but there's no question about it. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out from here. I have to say, lads, I'm pretty happy when it comes to the Camogie predictions. Anyway, I've called 3 out of 4 of the provinces correct. The only one I got wrong was SARS, that they didn't win Galway. The 1 year that they don't win Galway. Anyway, they're but the team that I picked to win the All Ireland, Dixborough, they won the Leinster Championship today. They beat Aulach de Bala in the Leinster final. Huge win for Dixborough, beating Aulach de Bala in the Leinster Camogie Final, 17 points to a goal and 13. Obviously, Aulach de Bala had took out St. Vincent's in their semi-final, but this was still going to be a huge, huge test. And for Dixborough to win this, there's no question about it. When you see that Sarsfields from Galway are gone, the champions eliminated, all of a sudden that does shake up the entire Camogie Championship. Dixborough are then the most recent team still in the competition to have won the championship back in 2022. So there's no question about it. Dixborough have to be taken serious for the All-Ireland, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. No, look, Dixborough, I remember the day I saw them when they played against Burr. Now, look, Burr were, with all due respect to them, they were no match for Dixborough, but I was really impressed with the way that they played hurling that day and the way they used the ball and their sweeper system and everything like that. And I actually thought to myself, look, even though Ullart Tabala had taken out Vincent, I was thinking it's going to take a very, very strong performance from Ullart Tabala to take down this Dixborough team. And well, at halftime, it was looking that way. They were winning 1-9-7 at halftime. Una Lisi had a goal on the edge of in injury time, I believe it was. And she'd been denied earlier from a penalty from Ciara Duggan in the nets, who was a very, very good goalkeeper for Dixborough. I have to say myself as well. Her puckouts are absolutely sensational as well, and her reading of the game as well. But yeah, Dixborough fought back in the second half, and it was a cracking game of hurling as well. They got points through Ashley McCarty as well, Jenny Clifford, Rachel Dowling brought the sides level, Rose Kelly nudged Dixborough ahead, and then a free from Curran tied the game once more, and then Phelan found enough space to fire over the winner. I think it just hit the hour mark and she fired over the winning point, and Dixborough managed to see out the game in the end by a point, which is a fantastic way for them to win the Leinster Championship. And like you said, they're going to have to be taken really, really seriously in the All-Ireland series now. They're a very, very strong team, and to come through a battle like that against a team of Ullart Tabala, who have great history and great pedigree in the Leinster Championship as well, and are a very respected club in both the men's and women's game across the country as well, is very, very good going. So yeah, congratulations to Dixborough on being the Leinster champions. Congratulations as well. I'll just give a mention as well to Camross. I was speaking to their manager, Arian Delaney, during the week ahead of their final in the intermediate championship against Nafina of Meath, and just give a mention to Kirsten Kineen, who scored 4 goals in this final. I mean, imagine scoring 4 goals in a provincial final. Like, that's absolutely mental, to be honest with you. But yeah, fair play to her and fair play to Camross winning the Leinster Championship. They'll go on to an All-Ireland semi-final now. So yeah, congratulations to them, and commiserations to Nafina. But yeah, with some very interesting matchups to come in the All-Ireland series anyways on the Camogie side.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. This was a huge win for Dixborough, because you're looking at Sarsfields and Galway getting knocked out. That shakes up the entire All-Ireland Camogie Championship. And then you're looking at Dixborough, recent All-Ireland champions in 2023, the most recent All-Ireland champions to still be in the competition. It's a huge win for them to beat Ullart Tabala in the Leinster final. They're into the Final Four. I have them as my favourites now to kick on and win the whole thing, but there are still some sharks in the tank with them. Lochiel, Shamrocks, Athenry, St. Finbarrs of Cork. It'll be really, really interesting to see how it plays out from here. But anyway, that is the fixtures that took place at senior level that we have covered every single one of them. If you want to see all of the results from intermediate and junior, Matthew has put them together on his Gaelic Statsman Instagram page and collabed as well with the Cúilín Media Instagram page. So do check both of them out and give the page a follow as well while you're at it, if you have not already. But before we wrap up as well, as I think it's important to give a massive shout as well to 2 players who were crowned the Senior Player of the Year across the weekend. Aaron, starting off with a fellow dub, Hannah Tyrrell's last dance. I mean, she had it plastered that this was going to be her final year with the Dublin football team. Hannah Tyrrell's last dance ends with her winning the Senior Player of the Year for 2025, an incredible player for Dublin throughout her career. And you look at what she's achieved, not just in Gaelic football, but in rugby and all the sports that she's turned her hand to. She's been an incredible athlete. And to, walk off the stage with an incredible performance in the All-Ireland final, and to be such a crucial operator, top scorer in the championship. You think about that clutch point that she got against Galway to send that game to extra time. If she doesn't get that, Dublin are out of the championship. What a last dance it was for her. What a servant she's been for Dublin. And, talk about going out on top. You can't do it much better than that.
100%, yeah, like definitely one of the icons of Dublin football. There's no question about it. Yeah, like she's been phenomenal, well deserved, I think, of Player of the Year. I don't think anyone can really disagree. And yeah, like what a story to go out on your final season and everything else and win Player of the Year. And yeah, like some of her performances this year were phenomenal. Like some of the points she was kicking left and right from frees, very direct as well, like very, very hard to kind of dispossess a lot of the time. Like the strength that she has as well. So yeah, an incredible player for Dublin without question. Yeah, she's going to be hugely missed over the next couple of seasons. I'm not too sure how you replace a player of her ability, to be honest with you, with some of the points and everything else that she will be able to get. And like she was scoring points as well, that would be 2-pointers in the men's game, like some of the points she was kicking sort of in the run into the final were phenomenal.
That free against Galway would have been a 2-pointer.
Would have been a 2-pointer.
That was outside the 2-point arc, so that we would have fucking won that game.
yeah. Like that just goes to show like how good of a talent, how good of a player she's been for Dublin. And yeah, tremendous servant overall. Like for Irish sport, as you said, playing rugby. I think she played AFL as well, soccer. Like she's been absolutely everywhere. And yeah, we got to see some of her best years with Dublin as well. And yeah, best of luck to her and whatever is coming next. There's no question. I'm sure she'll have some sort of plans because she's definitely earned the right to do that. And yeah, it is going to be a huge blow for Dublin next year. There's no doubt about that. But look, hopefully we'll be able to find the players that can come through and rise up to the challenge.
Absolutely. No, well put, man. Peter here saying, lads, great review. Thanks a mil. Have a good week. Won't catch you Thursday, but see you next Sunday. We will see you then, Peter. Looking at the team, interesting enough, Liam, like looking at the team, Robin Murray was listed in goal, Jess Tobin, Leah Caffrey and Mary Kate Lynch in the full-back line, Avian Cleary, Nicola Ward, Sinead Goldrick in the half-back line, Eilish O'Dowd and Emma Murray in midfield, Olivia Dively, Niamh Gallagly and Carla Rowe in the half-forward line, Hannah Tyrrell, Sheaf Roche and Kate Sullivan in the full-forward line. It's a good team. There are some big absentees from that team, though. The first one I'm thinking is Vicky Wall isn't in the team. That's really, really big absence.
I think Lauren McGregor
is top scorer from play.
Like she's an absolute beast of a player. Like I don't know how you leave. You said she's a top scorer from play this year, wasn't she? Like she just was on fire. So I think she's very, very unlucky to be missing out, to be honest with you. I'm delighted to see Sheaf Roche included in the team. I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's been brilliant this year. I've said it before. I think if Kerry had won the All-Ireland, I think she would have been the footballer of the year, to be honest with you. Even in their game against Meath, I still think she was one of their, kind of like similarly to how I thought David Clifford was the only one that came out of the men's Meath game with his head held high from Kerry's perspective. I feel like she was one of the few from the ladies' perspective as well. But yeah, look, I think overall 7 from Dublin is fair. At the end of the day, Dublin were very, very strong this year, and the way they performed in that All-Ireland final was absolutely savage. And yeah, there's no question about it. For Hannah Tyrrell, an unbelievable end to the season for her. I mean, 8:30. I mean, that's an outrageous score to have at the end of a championship. We talk about David Clifford's one, but like you mentioned, there's no 2-pointers in the LGFA, and for her to end up with that is just absolutely savage. So fair play to her. But yeah, no, look, I still think it's a strong team overall. But like you mentioned there, the likes of Vicky Wall, and for me, I think Lauren McGregor is the big one. Daniela O'Leary as well, probably as well, could be considered as well to a degree, but I think Lauren McGregor and Vicky Wall are probably the two standout ones. But overall, I still think it's a strong team, and yeah, especially when you look at the intermediate one as well. I think Sorcha Gormley from Tyrone, I think that's kind of fair, to be honest with you. She'd start for every team in the country, to be honest with you. She's an absolutely outstanding player. Yeah, no, look, I think she's ultimately deserved it this year. The way she performed in the All-Ireland final against Laois was absolutely outstanding. And similarly with Kate Flood for Louth, another just savage year for her as well. So congratulations to them from the football perspective.
Yeah, and Kate Flood also similar to Hannah Tyrrell. That was her last dance. That was her last game for Louth. Was the junior final, victorious that day, and then bowing out, on a great spot. There's no question about it. Kate Flood has been fantastic. I think Martha Byrne is another one that maybe could be a little bit aggrieved that she didn't get in. I thought she was fantastic at number 6 for Dublin throughout the entire year, but I mean, we got 7. I'm willing to be happy enough with that. Now we are going to move on then we have to give a massive shout as well, obviously to give a big congratulations to Sorcha Gormley and to K Flood as well on their wins. But we are going to move on to the Camogie All-Stars, and starting off, Liam, with the Senior Player of the Year, Aoife Donoghue. What a year Aoife Donoghue had. When you're looking at that All-Ireland final against Cork, Aoife Donoghue was like front of the line, taking the fight to Cork that day. Absolute warrior. And I mean, you're talking about how did Galway beat Cork that day? Aoife Donoghue summed it up. Incredible player and fully deserving of that hurler. Fully deserving of the Player of the Year award.
Oh, 100%. She's been absolutely savage for Galway all year. And it was actually nearly a privilege. I can't even say that word now. Privilege to watch her in that All-Ireland final in person, to be honest with you. The way she dominated the game and the way she was running around the pitch, like Jesus, she had energy for days, to be honest with you. It was absolutely unbelievable. You had Carrie Dolan as well, who had a savage year as well. And look, you'd all the Cork players as well, which, look, had Cork won the All-Ireland, it would have probably been a Cork player that would have won the All-Star, if we're being honest. But yeah, look, congratulations to Aoife Donoghue. A savage year for her. And as well, Cathal Murray, I mean, it's kind of fair that he's manager of the year as well. I think it kind of makes sense from that perspective. Galway winning the All-Ireland when probably a lot of people maybe didn't expect it, especially on the day with how strong Cork have been over the last couple of years. So yeah, look, Aoife Donoghue firmly deserves it, in my opinion. And then from the junior and the intermediate, Grace Tehan winning it from Offaly. Congratulations to her. I feel like Mairead would probably feel a bit aggrieved to not win it, but I think Grace, the way she performed in the All-Ireland final for us, scoring I think it was 4 points she got in that final. It was in what was a tough watch from a neutral's perspective, because it wasn't the best of games against Kerry, but I think overall probably deserving. Mairead could probably have an argument, or the feeling maybe as well as the captain had a savage year as well, but overall it was a fantastic year from her, so congratulations to her. And Amy Collier, I mean, she's had an unbelievable day with Camross today, and now she has an All-Star as well, so as the Junior Player of the Year. So again, no surprise there. She's Laois's best player. Clodagh Tynan had a savage year as well, but and congratulations to the rest of the Offaly players as well on getting their All-Stars as well. Look, I think overall they've probably got all their award winners spot on, to be honest with you. And I think it's been a great year for Camogie, and hopefully it continues on this trend for the next couple of years as well.
Well, from what started off as a rocky year, obviously with the whole short skirts fiasco, like they finally got their head out of the sand with that, and they made the correct decision eventually. And it ended up being a good year for Camogie in terms of the games and everything like that. And we have with the documentary that they made as well, that was fantastic. They've shown a step forward in terms, in my opinion, to the entire GAA, because you're looking as well at the Loud documentary that they made for their LGFA season, and like, what GAA fan wouldn't want to see more of those documentaries? We want to see as many of them as possible. We want to see, like, you're thinking about 1998 and how immortalized 1998 has become in our memory in terms of the Gaelic football. That's because of the Galway documentary. The Any Given Sunday, the Westmeath Leinster title in 2004, where you can watch back Paddy O'Shea's team talks in the training sessions. Like, that makes unbelievable years crystallized in time, and you can go back and relive them at any time that you choose to watch that documentary. You think about the amazing years that we've had in the GAA, that we just have had nothing made about them. You think of Dublin 6 in a row, we've had fuck all documentary about that unbelievable achievement. So I think in future, I'm not complaining about the past. I'm just saying, in future, let's look into making more of these documentaries, documenting more of these incredible achievements as they are happening. Because what I've tended to notice now, especially growing up as a sports fan, is once these dynasties are gone, they're gone. Like, you look at how quick that Dublin team then is gone. Like, they're all retired inside 5 years. The Limerick hurling team, all of a sudden now, look very unlikely to actually get back up to the top of the mountain. Like, you're seeing, stuff like Seamus Flanagan having to leave the panel and everything like that. Will they get back to where they were? We don't know. Declan Hannon's retired though, so he sure as hell won't be lifting the cup. Like, it's all of a sudden things are completely different to what they were before. And I think if we can make more documentaries and everything like that, that would be my one wish for 2026, that we have, a FIFA World Cup 2022 style documentary, or a ESPN doc style about the All-Ireland Championship, a Hell for Leather style. that our team did. Something like that where we could crystallize it, in time, that we could always go back and relive that season. Because I think it's going to be a great one across the board. Football especially is very open. I know Kerry won it, but that's there for the taking. I really do believe that. I don't think that it's untouchable. I think it's going to be up for a contest again. And let's see where it goes. Let's document it.
I think we need a documentary of Troy Parrott now after today.
Yeah, we've already got an airport named after him. So, but yeah, on a day where Irish football took one massive step forward, is our massive shout again to Troy Parrott on his hat-trick and the Ireland team on that incredible victory in Hungary. And we'll wrap up the show here. Another great weekend of GA action. We'll be back on Thursday night at 8 p.m. for another weekend preview show. Until then, Torah. Instinct, baby.